record. And you are good to go.
All right, we're back. Terry and Gary's Low Expectations podcast, and today we have Brian Myers, pro wrestling superstar for Impact Wrestling. How you doing, Brian?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Definitely.
No
Go ahead, Gary.
I was going to let you do it so I can start sharing.
No. Oh, okay. Well, see, he's a tech guy. You figure we'd have this, this thing locked down, but we don't know what the heck we're doing.
Well, no, Terry, we're both big dumb wrestlers. I get it. I have a producer as well. I have no clue what I'm doing on my podcast. I need him to do everything. I didn't know what a Zoom was, a Skype. No clue. Right.
Usually there's one awkward pause, right? And we got right out of the gate. So we're good for the rest of the show. Obviously we see some of the wrestling action figures behind you, and you were saying those are from the early 90s?
Yeah, those are all WWF Hasbro's. Those are actually all autographed by whoever's there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when did you start collecting them? And you guys have your own show, right?
Yeah, myself and Matt Cardona, aka Zach Ryder, we have a wrestling figure podcast called the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast. It just kind of started as like a little hobby thing, and it really blew up for us. So it's been a hell of a ride. It's a lot of fun. And Matt and we met when we were 18 in wrestling school, and we were both kind of, I would say, like intimidated by each other because we were so similar, And then once we got to know each other, we kind of realized, we both were really into wrestling figures, and that like kind of kickstarted our bond. And we both just been collecting our whole lives and just kind of had like a weird passion for it. And it's something that's really kind of just blown up in society as well. Like when we first started, I wouldn't, go in the locker room and tell Bob Holly about my goddamn wrestling figure collection. I'd be scared to death. You know what I mean?
Right.
Now it's kind of cool. It's trendy. It's a hip thing. It's not just something that people are like, a bunch of nerds that collect wrestling figures. It's very common, for people to collect, action figures and collectibles, and especially with the internet where you can, share and, trade and sell and, buy. It's pretty cool.
Right. Yeah. A buddy of mine, he actually, you met him actually, Vinny.
Cousin Vinny?
Yeah, Vinny. He actually, I guess he had like a whole entire room covered just in action figures signed.
Yeah, man. People are very, very passionate about it. It's a very passionate hobby, Yeah. We always say it makes people feel good. You know what I mean? Like these are the toys I had when I was a child, and I can't go in a time machine and be a kid again. But this is about as close as I can get to those sentimental childhood good feelings.
Right. Exactly. No, like I walked into his room, and like it's very impressive when you see them hanging on the wall and they're in order and all that stuff. And he had boxes and boxes that he couldn't display because he had.
I got the same problem.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, this is my I call it my playroom. I mean, it's just loaded.
Yeah.
There's a Rhino micro brawler over there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I got this, all this stuff, all my championships, and actually this side's all New York Mets memorabilia, actually. So it's kind of, yeah, this is my happy spot.
Now, what was the best year the Mets had?
I mean, I haven't won a championship since '86, so I would have to go with that. They've got two World Series, '69 and '86. So it's been a while. Yeah.
Now, they always say, there's more money in the chase and there's more excitement in the chase. It's nice to win a championship.
Oh, of course.
There's some years where they were in the chase and, it was just so exciting, even though you're let down at the end. What's your favorite chase?
As a Met fan, my two probably favorite years are 2000 and 2015. In both those years, they got to the World Series and lost, but it was still that excitement of, getting there. Even though they lost, it's very disappointing, but it's still made for a hell of a season where every game mattered. And then, you get through the rounds of the playoffs, it's a lot of fun. It's exciting.
Basically like being a Tigers fan then for us here.
Man.
Basically, 84, then a couple of chases that ended in disappointment, and
totally
here we are.
Yeah, big drought.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2006, man, that was a hell of a year too.
Yeah.
So as far as your figures go, you're not gonna let the kids open any of those and play with them, or?
No, I purposely you saw those are all in cases. A lot of them have a key to get them open because I have two daughters now. my one's 3.5, so she kind of understands. And she knows those are Dada's guys. Like she knows it's not cool to touch them. Everything that's out is kind of high enough where they can't reach it. It's all strategically, because some of these things are honestly some high end stuff, like very valuable wrestling figures. So for them to be throwing them around would not be good.
What would you say is your favorite one?
I don't. People ask me this all the time. Like, I don't collect for like value. Like, oh, this is worth this is worth that. Like, that doesn't really excite me. I just like professional wrestling and I like action figures. So to me, like my favorite figure is this Chris Candido ECW figure, just because I love Chris so much. He's the guy that my first day of wrestling school, he was my coach and trained me for one school was open one day and he was the head coach. Him and Balls Mahoney. I got to train with them. I know he was just always one of my favorites. I kind of pattern a lot of the stuff I do in the ring after him. I just thought he was just such a awesome worker where like he could adapt and have an awesome match with anybody, a guy that was ground based, a brawler, anything. He could kind of do a comedy, he could do anything. So hardcore. Right. So I just always admired him. So he's my favorite wrestler. So, and he only really has this one figure. So that's my favorite.
He only has one figure?
He just got this like Legends one. That's pretty brutal. It's pretty crappy. Toy company made it, but yeah, he only really has that one ECW figure. Wow. Yeah. He didn't get a Skip Body Domus figure, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was hoping there was a couple there. Yeah, very talented. I actually was able to work with him and team with him and became friends with him. So
yeah, great guy.
Great dude. So
I got one. My favorite one.
There it is.
Oh yeah,
the Rhino action figure. I don't know if you can see it.
Look at those. Look at those quads.
I know, right?
I actually
he's got the money in the bank there.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. I've never been in a Money in the Bank match, but
so this is living a lie this whole time. I thought
big time,
right?
Yeah,
I charge them double for it too.
Right?
You bought that at the gimmick table,
right? Sure. I go for you, kid.
So how long have you been collecting? Is it something you started when you were a kid, or?
Like my wrestling fandom and my collecting kind of went hand in hand. Like these Hasbros that are on the wall came out in 1990. And I was 5 years old, and that's about my first memory of wrestling. My brother had rented WrestleMania 6, and I just was enamored with it. And I wore this thing out. And my mom would go nuts because I just would renting these Coliseum home videos from the same spot over and over again, things I'd seen a million times. And then the first live show that I have any memory of seeing was Undertaker's debut at Survivor Series 90. So 30 years, basically, we're talking.
Now, was that the first actual wrestling you saw, or did you watch any of the TV prior to that, or?
They're just tapes. I must have been watching the TVs because I knew, sadly, I remember thinking like, oh, wow, what's in the egg? And unfortunately it was gobbledygook. I remember thinking, who's DiBiase's Mystery Man? Is Undertaker? He scared the living shit out of me. So like, I had to be watching the TVs in some capacity with like my older brother leading up to that. But that's my first like memory that I can remember like being anticipating, I guess. I knew that was a thing, and I was excited to see what the payoff was.
Right. Now, once you, when did you decide you wanted to get into wrestling as far as become a wrestler?
I don't know, like if I ever really had like I don't know. I just kind of always just thought this is what I wanted to do. There was not like I think once I was rounding about high school, I was like, oh, this has become a reality. And I used to go. You might have worked for him. Frank Goodman used to run these indie shows in Long Island. USA Pro. So basically like from like 8th grade on, I would be going to these USA Pro shows all the time, and he would bring in some big names. Like I saw LOD at an indie show in front of like 200 people in like this little Elks Lodge, you know what I mean? Like crazy stuff, little Knights of Columbus type place. And he would bring in a lot of guys, and that's where I first met Candido, and I would just bug him and tell him I want to be a wrestler, and he was always so nice to me. So that's another reason that I really appreciate the guy. And then Frank would always make this announcement like during intermission, like, we're going to open a school soon. And then sure enough, my senior year, he was like, the grand opening of the school was that spring. And I was like, wow, this is like meant to be. And I went, and it was open one day. Candido and Balls were the co-head trainers. We trained for like 3 hours. The first time I was ever in a ring, I was on like cloud 9. And as I was changing to leave, my parents came to pick me up. I could just see like Frank and Chris and Balls having this conversation. You can just tell by someone's body language. I could just tell it was not a good talk. Right. Either, I don't know. I never found out. They were arguing about money or something. Or then like, I've since told Dreamer this story, and he explained to me, he's like, Balls and Chris lived like at least 2.5 hours away in like South Jersey. Like for them to come to Long Island all the time, that, like even if it was once a week, would be hell on earth. So like it just was a bad idea, I guess. And the school was kind of like just there for a couple more weeks and I would go, but I never saw Chris and Balls there again. Matt Stryker I remember kind of would show me some things and stuff. And then eventually I had to find Mikey Whipwreck and John Curse, who was a part of Team Taz, and they had a school in Long Island as well.
Oh, okay, cool. So how long of a break did you have in between schools? Or did you jump right into the other one?
Not much, because I was just so eager to like, it's like once you get that taste, you're like,
Right.
I just wanted it. So I went and sought out the other school almost immediately once I realized that this one school wasn't happening. And that school didn't have Mikey yet. And then the following year, they brought in Mikey to be the head trainer. And that's like what really kickstarted everything for a lot of guys.
Right. And what year was that?
This is 03, 04.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you knew Mikey from ECW and all that.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, I'm ECW. Like anyone who like listens to my podcast, or they know that ECW is my like be all end all kind of my fandom. I love wrestling growing up, and it kind of worked in this like perfect timeline. Like when I first found it, it was that WWF bright, colorful, big characters, but I'm just a little kid. And then as I grew up, I found ECW, and it was like perfect timing, hardcore stuff and chicks and, violence and drinking and, like I kind of like perfectly grew up with it. And then I found out, I'm like, this is the perfect blend of all this stuff I like,
Right.
Yeah.
When and where did you break into the pro ranks as far as that goes?
I had my first match July 2004 on one of those Mikey Whipwreck shows, NYWC in Long Island. So
now,
Mikey came in, and I had probably about 6 months of like solid training with Mikey before I had my first match.
Yeah, I had about 6 months too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, before I had my first match. Now, what was your ring name during your first match?
That's another funny thing. Like I was so naive to the business. I just thought everyone was like their real name. I didn't realize that these are like characters, so for like the longest time. So I'm like, well, my name's Brian Myers, so why wouldn't it be Brian Myers? I wasn't thinking like, I don't know why, that just never occurred to me, which is very bizarre. You would think that I would know that Hulk Hogan wasn't his real name, but even when I did discover that, I was like, I'll just be Brian Myers. I don't know.
What do you mean it's not his real name?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, actually, he's another Terry.
Okay. Spoilers today.
Yeah. When I found out it was Terry, I was like, wow, we have the same name, man. So, go ahead, Gary. That's our second awkward pause.
We're going to go into it. But all right, so there's a guy in WWE named Kurt Hawkins. You might know a little bit about him.
Yeah.
What was the streak?
The streak?
Yeah.
Basically, I just had the foresight, thank God, to realize that it would better to be known as the guy that loses all the time than to be known as like nothing. You know what I mean? I saw the writing on the wall that there wasn't really much going on for me. Somebody somewhere wrote a article that went around to like all the dirt sheets that said that I had lost 100 matches in a row. And then fans were like tweeting it to me and stuff. And I was like, And when I saw it, I was like, that's not true. Like, that's gotta be true, because I haven't won. I knew that.
Right.
And then I was like, but maybe there's something to this. Not instead of like the industry standard, which would be to pout about it and, be pissed about it. I was like, oh, maybe there's something to this. And then I kind of was pitching it to everybody and the writers and everybody. And I'll never forget the big turning point was one day we're in the Barclays Center, and Terry, you're probably there. You probably didn't know this happened, but it was supposed to be me versus Heath on main event. And I was supposed to beat him.
I remember you came to me.
And this guy, one of the writers came out and he was so happy. He's like, today's the day. Vince said, you're going to get a win in your hometown. And I was like, do you mind if we don't?
Yeah.
I was like, I feel like, I was like, I feel like this could be something. I'd rather like stay this course. Like, it's not like you guys have plans for me. Like, do you mind? I'm sure people don't ask to lose very often here, if ever. And then basically, finally I said to the guy, I said, let me ask you this. I was like, everyone in this company is aware of this losing streak except Vince. He's like, that's probably safe to say. I was like, then can you just tell him? And then luckily I didn't have to do it. He relayed the message and Vince was like, okay, sure. Jesus Christ, who has to lose? So, but that was a big turning point, because if I didn't do that, if I didn't stand my ground, or if I was like marking out to beat Heath in my hometown on main event, it would have ruined everything. But it just became like so much fun, man. People started to like, it basically like organically turned me babyface, because people cared, really, really cared. Like they wanted to be there, even if it was just some dumb live event. Like they cared to like see if I won. They want to say, oh, I was there when that loser guy won. Like people would cheer me on and stuff. It was like, it wanted to be such a blessing in disguise. Plus, I never showed up to work like, oh man, hopefully today's the day I get this big push. I'm like, oh no, who am I facing? What's your finish? Oh great, I'll take it. Awesome. Like there was no politics, there was nothing. It took all that out of our job, which is normally there like crazy. And I'm sure Terry can attest to that. And this just became so fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and like you said, it's you're doing something and you're involved, and the people really loved it. And then I loved how you'd go out there and you'd cut a promo and challenge someone, and you came here to beat the streak or to kill the streak or something, and someone else would come out, and
Oh,
it
that's
was
the
so much
best.
fun, and you could tell it was so much fun because I'd watch from the curtain, or the side of the curtain or from the monitor. And then like the people were so into it. And, it was great because you were doing something opposed to not doing something.
For sure. I just feel like
And it got
everyone,
over.
I try to tell people all the time, so not everyone can be Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is awesome and he's friggin' fantastic at his job and he's a top guy, but there's only so many of those spots. You know what I mean? So I was happy to play my part because it was still fun as hell and I was making money and I was traveling the world with my friends, having a great time. So, and like you said, dude, sometimes like doing the shtick like that, I'd be racking up 3 a night. So on a loop, I'd get 9 losses added to the streak, and it was just like it could have been more fun,
And the shirts were great. I love the shirt.
Yeah,
the shirt with it. That was my idea, and actually, I brought that to Vince, and he got that pushed through, which is really cool. Yeah,
it's actually a brilliant idea. I mean, it made you more endearing to the fans. It just seemed like
everything about it was. I don't regret a second of it.
Is it still going on? Have you ended the streak?
Oh, come on! I won the tag team titles at WrestleMania, man.
Yeah, thanks for watching, Gary.
Yeah, that's right. I do. I mean, that's individual. Okay.
You'll have to steal Terry's password to the network, I guess.
Right. And you were wearing your green and white outfit for the Jets, right?
Yeah, that was a one night only Jets in the Jets Stadium. It's my favorite football team, so it was pretty fitting. Yeah. I couldn't have wrote it. Like obviously that wasn't like the intentions, of losing for whatever it was 2.5 years. It just wound up paying off, in a pretty incredible way.
Yeah, and then for the tag titles, I remember, and I didn't, I'm just watching, and the crowd was so into it, and then the moment when you guys went over, it was just like it was really special.
It was pretty storybook, and I always say in WWE in your hometown, you usually get like slime dropped on you or something, or your ass kicked or something, and I got a pretty cool storybook moment in front of my wife and my kids, and it was pretty cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
So we got some questions here. Some
Hit
people want to know if you have any good stories working alongside with Edge or Hornswoggle.
Oh man, I'm still working alongside Hornswoggle, so that's Hornswoggle is one of my best friends. He was in my wedding party. I don't think my wife is still forgiving me for having him in the wedding party because he's in all of our photos for the rest of our lives, or the wedding party, me and all my buddies, and then there's little Dylan, so it kind of pops me. But he's one of my best friends. I'm actually going to work for him tomorrow at his promotion ACW in Wisconsin, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Oh, cool.
And Adam Copeland, Edge, I basically owe my career to him, and Zack Ryder does as well, because we pitched that we were literally bottom of the barrel dudes on SmackDown. We pitched this idea to be his seconds basically. And he said yes. He didn't know us from a hole in the wall. We had like a hello goodbye relationship at that time, and for whatever reason, he took a chance on us, and he literally altered our careers in the way of like the push for sure, but also the learning experience was the most invaluable thing that we experienced. A year straight of watching him every night. What it takes to be in his spot, what he does. With promos and TVs and backstages and having these main event matches on live events, and just it was pretty incredible. Pay-per-views, really cool, man.
Now, what year were you with Adam?
Basically, like all of 2008. Okay. We were his edge heads. So we did almost every pay-per-view with him. It was pretty wild.
Yeah, it was fun being on the road with him, huh?
Oh yeah, totally. He rode with us a handful of times, and then he tapped out. He couldn't do it. He basically kicked us out. So we were with Festus after that. Festus and Swoggle, yeah.
One more question. Dennis Farrell wants to know: do you think winning and losing is overrated in pro wrestling? Then,
I think I proved that, right? Yeah. There's certainly good losing, and there's definitely bad losing as well. And then I think, like anything in life, it's the attitude that you display. I think that above all will rise above, what ultimately happens,
And the last question, is it easier to pick a favorite toy or a favorite child?
Toy for sure, because
Toy for
I
sure.
only have two kids and I love them equally to death, so I can't do that.
Not Gary. He likes his oldest one better than the youngest one. He
Oh
tells
wow.
I don't like either one of them.
Really?
They're in their 20s now.
Oh my God, really?
Disappointment. Yeah. I love you. I really don't know if you're mine. Yeah.
Well, look at them. They don't look like me.
Right.
So what's
Now,
what's next? Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. Now when you signed with Impact, what was how did that come about?
Well, one, I haven't signed with Impact. I'm still a free agent, but
Okay. So in that
I'm working
there.
with Impact. I'm proud to be working with Impact. I've had a blast. Pretty much like the first week that I was let go, Tommy Dreamer called me and kind of gave me the big pitch and that he thought I'd be a great fit. And thankfully, he also went to bat to the other guys, like Scott and Don, that he thought I'd be a great fit as well. So, and I feel like he was right. It's been a great fit and I've been having a blast. I feel like I'm getting to do things I haven't been able to do before, show a side of my work that hasn't been seen before. So I'm really enjoying it. Plus all my friends are there, so it's that half the fun of this business is getting to work with people that you enjoy being around, so that makes it a lot easier.
Exactly. And you've always stayed busy in wrestling too, whether it's with WWE, Impact, Indies. You've always stayed busy. And plus you get on the road and you go too.
Yeah, I just man, I love wrestling. Like whether it's at Madison Square Garden or if it's in front of 150 people at a VFW, I just love it to death. So, and I think my other big motivation in that is that one day Father Time's going to get us all. So I want to do this as long as my body will let me, and I can go and, be an in-ring performer. That time to me is precious and I want to just take full advantage of it all the time. So, and I basically, Matt and I got signed at 20 years old and it's been since then, I got, I'm trying to think. The pandemic was like my biggest layoff really, because I couldn't wrestle. Yeah.
Same here.
So we're going to see the hashtag Brian for Impact shirts pretty soon, or?
I don't. The difference between me and Heath is Impact wants me. I'm playing hard to get. Yeah, I'm just playing hard to get. Yeah.
We have another question, but for both of you guys, it's Sean Woolley, as a local wrestler. He wants to know if you guys have any tips for workouts while you're on the road.
Basically just get it in. That's the hardest part. Finding the gym, and forcing yourself to get in there and get it done, which is not often easier said than done kind of thing. That's the toughest part.
Plus, it's a lot easier now that with technology, you can look up gyms and see.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's not much of an excuse. It's just tough to know that, you have to have a physically exhausting match and a workout. It's tough to get that done in the same day or have that mindset to get it done. It's tough sometimes, for sure. Especially if you had an early flight or something. You're pretty wiped.
Yeah, but now it's a lot easier to find them. But like you said,
Yeah.
putting it in and getting there.
Yeah.
Do you take your Thigh Master with you on the road, Terry?
What's that?
Thigh Master, Terry?
Do you take your Thigh Master on the road when you go?
I'm going to be the new spokesperson. I'm trying to get that gig.
Hey, another question for you, Brian. Somebody wants to know how you came up with the Face the Facts gimmick.
I had absolutely nothing to do with that. I got rehired when Terry got rehired, and from what I was always told is Vince, I believe they added SmackDown to USA and it was going to be live and they were going to split the brands and they needed some more bodies. And basically Vince didn't want NXT guys. He wanted like guys that had already been tried and tested, know how to work TV, WWE style, like people he could just count on kind of thing. So that's how like Shelton and me and Terry all kind of, and Jinder, we all came back. But there was like no plans for me. That's what I'm pretty sure would happen. And then some writer just pitched that to Vince and he thought it was funny. Vince had never heard Chuck Norris jokes before. And they were like reading them off to Vince and he was chuckling at him. And he said, just go with it. So that's all that was. I literally couldn't have had less to do with that.
Yeah, that's like they didn't have any idea what to do with me. And then they put Heath and I together and it just worked.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So how much of that is luck then, as far as like just getting somebody in.
I think a lot of wrestling is luck and patience, and then sometimes making your own luck. Like I said about the edge heads things, like where we pitched it, and like man, in my career I've pitched thousands of things, and I can think of maybe on one hand the things that actually happened. You know what I mean? So it is what it is.
Now, is it scary to pitch things to the guys like Vince McMahon and stuff? Is it?
Maybe when you're younger. I mean, I got pretty close to him. I wound up being I got hernia a couple years ago, and then they made me a producer for a little bit. So I was really working like hand in hand with him, which was great because it wasn't intimidating to talk to him anymore because I had to talk to him so much, kind of thing. So yeah, especially not after something like that. No, not at all. Or if you're just confident in what you're saying and you believe in it, then it shouldn't be hard to talk to him.
Yeah, I always tell people when they pitch an idea, just bullet points. So try not to lay out the whole angle, this or that when you're pitching something. Just bullet points and let them think about it. Let it become their idea.
That too. That helps.
No,
right.
We just had Pat Patterson passing, so I was just curious if you guys had any stories about Pat Patterson.
Yeah, Pat was one of my favorites, man. He was like he kind of became my like drinking buddy over the years because that you could just kind of always count on him being at that hotel bar, and then he's just he's having his vodka, splash of cran, vodka tonic, splash of cran, and then he just tells stories and talk, and he's just instrumental in a lot of people's learning and stuff. The WWE is gonna sorely miss Pat Patterson. He was great.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was. I learned so much from him, and I would just ask him about how it was with the territories and when he went to work for WWF back then. Well, Vince's dad and stuff, and a lot of great stuff. Yeah, I learned so much from him.
He was a big part of the on-air stuff, right? What was the
like Royal Rumble and all that stuff. That was his idea.
Yeah,
so
for years and years and years.
Is that something you guys would want to get into as far as your wrestling careers?
When Father Time catches up.
When Father Time gets Terry,
it'll catch you eventually.
Kurt Hawkins was defeated. Father Time is undefeated. Terry, he's going to get us all.
he's right on my tail. Father Time, I'll tell you that much. Some behind the scenes stuff. So helping the younger generation out. I know you'd really be good at that, Brian.
Dude, like I said, I'm just so madly in love with wrestling. Like there's so many aspects of it that I would enjoy. If I couldn't be an in-ring performer, I would love to be a commentator. I would love to be a coach. I would love to be a producer. Even like kind of dabbling in writing and stuff. I just love it all. And I have my school, which I kind of dabble in some of that, to keep that running and stuff. So it's pretty awesome.
Now, when did you start the school? What was that? 4 years ago?
Actually 2014. I opened the school.
Okay.
Yeah. Myself and Pat Buck. It's called Creative Pro Wrestling. It's in Long Island, New York. And we trained MJF from scratch. He's killing it right now. We've trained Chris Statlander, Max Caster. They all have been signed to All Elite Wrestling, so they're doing great. And we have there's tons of guys that I'm super proud of. They're doing awesome. So
that's
right.
Now, a character.
What was that, Gary?
I said MJF's a really cool character as far as AEW goes.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah. Now, where is your school at? And if someone wanted to get in touch with you as far as classes,
it's in Hicksville, New York. That's in Long Island, and we're pretty easy to get hold of all social media: Instagram, Twitter, CreativeProWrestling.com. There's tons of stuff.
Now, if someone say someone lived in California and wanted to go to your school, do you guys help find them a place to stay? You guys have a facility, or do you guys
that no, but we're open year round. Like we don't do camps. We have the building. It's like our building. It's always open. Actually, I have to go when I'm done with you guys here. I got to go coach tonight. But yeah, if anyone's visiting or around, that we'll obviously work out a cheaper rate, and you can come. If it's just for a short period of time. So,
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a lot of guys that are fresh in the business. I encourage them to go to different schools, get like a group of guys together and go for a week or so. And, obviously, contact someone like you, and because you learn different styles.
I think you have to. All the times that I was in developmental, it gets a little like stagnant. Everyone starts to wrestle the same and wrestle like each other. I think that's how you learn and grow a little bit faster when you move around.
Exactly. Just get in the car for a week and or get in the car, go someplace for a week and learn, So,
Yeah.
So there seems to be a lot of wrestling schools nationwide now. Is that something that's more and more prevalent now? A lot of guys starting their own wrestling schools, or
Well, I guess it's a lot harder than people think. And I know a lot of the boys ask me, and they think it's just like it's it's a lot of work,
yeah,
and it's you got to stick with it, and they're not always going to be, it's a very odd thing to just find someone walking in the streets that wants to be a pro wrestler. You know what I mean? So like, what are you offering? It's not like you open a McDonald's, people are going to go in because they want to eat. You open a wrestling school, how many people are going to just drop in because they want to take body slams? It's not a lot of people. So you gotta be prepared for that. But yeah, like out here in New York, people still go to like Johnny Rod's school. And no offense, but Johnny Rod's hasn't gotten in the ring and showed someone how to wrestle in like 30, 40 years. It's just he lives off that lore that, this is where Tommy Dreamer and Taz and the Dudleys came from, And that to me, that's like my business model. Like, we just have to stay open and be consistent, and we'll eventually start to live off the lore where people just know we're here and where we're at and what we can do.
Now, a good wrestling school is difficult too, even though and I try to tell a lot of people, they ask me about wrestling schools. I tell them, you got to look into it, do the research, who went there, and who's training there and all that stuff. Because, anybody can buy a ring and say they're wrestlers and, say they train. And sometimes it's unfortunate. Guys that aren't even really trained will open up a wrestling school, and and then people that are serious will think it's a good wrestling school. They'll go there, and then next thing you know, they've got a bad taste in their mouth. They just kind of give up on their dream of pro wrestling.
I think there's sadly more of those kind of schools than legit schools nowadays too, to be honest with you.
Right. That's why, it's just it's tough too to try to take someone and work with them, and step by step, and it's not an easy thing to do. You just have to have it in you.
Yeah, I can almost, and it's been 6 years now, I can almost like just read, as soon as someone comes in, I can almost just read their whole demeanor, and I can tell whether this person's gonna be here for one class or they're gonna give this a go. I can almost tell.
Right.
go ahead.
You don't want to shit on someone's dream either.
No, not at all. I can just tell, hey, I'm always gonna be here. Are you?
Right.
that's what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
When someone comes in and like they walk in and they can't walk and chew gum at the same time, and and I'm the type of person, like I'm like you. I can kind of see if someone has something, and but I also encourage them, but I also let them know that if in ring might not work out, just if you have a love and a passion for it, you might be even better as an announcer or this or that. There's a place in wrestling for you if you really want it,
For sure.
You might be, behind the scenes, you might, be more valuable than you would ever be in the ring, So I always try to tell people, if I love basketball as much as I love wrestling, I'd want to be part of basketball. I know I can never be good on the court, but there's a lot of other spots in the basketball business that I could be part of, So
what I always tell the guys is like, look, we're this school is going to be open every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we're going to be here teaching and giving out information. Whether you choose to come is up to you. It's just like a regular gym. If you don't go and lift some damn weights, you're not going to get any muscles. It's the same thing. If you don't come here and soak this in and learn, you're not going to learn how to be a wrestler. It's just as simple as that. It's up to you.
We have a question, like when beginners go to wrestling school, they would learn the basics and stuff. But what happens when they just announced that like the Rascals are going to WWE developmental? What do they do with somebody like that? They've already got a good base and they've already been wrestling professionally, and now
I don't know for sure because I'm pretty removed from that nowadays. But there's like different tiers of classes at the PC, so those guys aren't learning how to like bump. They'll be in like Shawn Michaels and Terry Taylor's class and be learning about psychology and selling and things like that, or what they'll do tape study and promos and stuff like that.
Just so much more than what people see on TV as far as like what goes into being a professional wrestler.
There is an unreal amount of, I don't know how still to this day professional wrestlers don't get the credit for what goes into this and how hard it is. You know what I mean? That they the physicality of it, the emotional aspect, the acting. It's just it's all the showmanship. It's all this great. Everything's live for the most part. Like, there's just so much rolled into one to be good at this. It takes a really special person. It's not easy at all. Just because people think it's scripted, it is, which is a brutal misconception that I'll just never get over.
Right. And plus, you have to be a businessman on top of that too.
There you go. Yeah, for sure. A politician.
What a politician.
Is that why you got into politics, Terry?
Yeah, he's going door to door again. Vote for Rhino.
Speaking of politics, hey man, can you donate to my campaign?
Yeah, you're back on the trail?
Right, back on the trail, baby. Back on the trail. So, but yeah, we won't. We know you got to get to class and everything. We appreciate you coming on here and
no sweat
and discussing that. Gary usually wraps us up and get you to tell you.
You want to do it now? Is that what you're trying to tell me? Wrap it up.
You guys are really professional.
Hey, low expectations.
It's a well-oiled machine, I tell you.
Yeah. Where can the fans find you, Brian, on social media and stuff?
Myers_wrestling on Twitter and Instagram. Check me out on Access TV, Impact Wrestling every Tuesday night. The Major Wrestling Figure Podcast drops every Friday. Wherever you find podcasts, download us on that. And we have a Patreon that, if you're a big time fan, that's really on fire, where it's so much that goes into it. I can't even, name drop it now in this little plug, but it's very interactive and it's a lot of fun.
Well, appreciate you coming on. Congratulations on the baby.
Thank you.
You said you guys had a newborn not too long ago, so congratulations on that, and see you
Thank
later.
You. All right, guys.
Oh, there you go.
I thought you left us.
I got a phone call.
He's like, the hell with these guys. I am out.
I'm like, wow, he really wanted to leave.
I keep getting phone calls. All right.
What did I say?
Later, guys.
Later. Thanks for joining us. And you guys can check us out next week, Thursday, 4:00 p.m. here on Podcast Detroit. Hopefully we'll have a guest. If not, me and Terry will ramble on for a little while, talking to everybody.
He was getting a phone call. I'm like, wow, he really couldn't wait to leave.
He was like, gosh, guys, you going to keep me any longer?
Right. You guys are pretty brutal.
Well, as far as the streak goes, I thought it was like an individual loss. I didn't know that the tag team champions counted as a streak.
Yeah.
I actually seen that. I watched that WrestleMania.
Yeah. And they I guess, like, he didn't win. Even as a team, they didn't win. It felt. Yeah. That I remember. I'll never forget watching that. Yeah, I just wanted to watch it. I didn't want to hear anything about it. Yeah, I was so happy for it, and yeah, it was really good. It was really good. Yeah, and his school is a really good school too, especially if you're out in that area. Definitely go check it out.
If I find a link, I'll post it on the thing. But
yeah, for sure.
So make sure you guys check us out. We'll be on uploaded to YouTube, Google Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all of them. Wherever you find your podcast, we'll be on there. And hope to see you guys next week.
Yeah. Now I've got to go get a rental car and hit the road.
Yeah, drive safe.
Thanks, man. 14 hours.